Look at this image. It's probably familiar to everyone. Stephen Hawking. His life is a true paradox. On the one hand, an incredible, brilliant mind that traveled to the very edges of the universe, peered into black holes, and almost witnessed the moment of the Big Bang. And on the other, a body confined to a wheelchair, almost completely immobile. This is the story of how the human spirit simply refused to acknowledge any physical limits. And to immediately understand what kind of man he was, let's start with his own words. This phrase is like a key to Stephen Hawking's personality. Despite everything he had to endure, he retained a remarkable sense of humor and self-irony. They became both his shield and his weapon. This is, perhaps, the main question we will try to answer today. How did it happen that a man who, at 21, was essentially given a death sentence, not only survived, but became one of history's greatest minds? This is a tale of defying fate itself. So, let's dive into this incredible story. We'll follow his entire journey, from carefree student to scientific titan. We'll try to understand the essence of his revolutionary ideas about black holes. We'll learn how, having lost his voice, he was able to speak to millions. And, of course, we'll see what kind of person he was, with his humor, his family, and his worries about the future. It all started at Oxford. And young Stephen Hawking was, the complete opposite of the image we all know. Energetic, cheerful, he loved rowing, was the helmsman of the team, its brains, guiding the boat to victory. He loved to dance and enjoyed life. It seemed like a brilliant, bright future lay ahead. His genius was obvious to everyone. It was not for nothing that his friends nicknamed him Einstein. But behind this outward carelessness, even laziness, lurked a mind that operated on a completely different level. He could spend hours solving the most complex problems, his potential amazed everyone. And no one, of course, could guess what a challenge awaited him. And at 21, everything changed. He became clumsy, started stumbling, and falling. The doctor initially laughed it off, saying, "Drink less beer." But the examination revealed the terrible truth. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. This is when the neurons in the brain die, and the muscles fail one by one. The prognosis was dire. 2-3 years to live, maximum. A death sentence. What does a person do when they hear such a diagnosis? Well, most would simply give up and throw up their hands. But not Hawking. Instead of drowning in despair, he immersed himself in science. His physics papers came out one after another. And his wheelchair became his battle station, from which he declared to the world, "My life is not over." And here's the amazing thing. The more confined his physical world became, shrinking to the confines of his wheelchair, the wider and more boundless his mental world became. Hawking directed all his intellectual power at the most mysterious objects in the universe, black holes. It was his personal rebellion against the limitations of his own body. And it was here that he truly revolutionized it. Just imagine. A black hole isn't an absolute cosmic prison with no escape. His most famous theory, Hawking radiation, says that black holes don't last forever. They evaporate very, very slowly, emitting energy, losing mass, and eventually simply disappear. To understand how cool that was, let's compare. And he showed that it wasn't. He essentially built a bridge between two different worlds of physics. The world of Einstein's giant objects and the world of tiny quantum particles. No one had done this before. He proved that black holes are the key to understanding the very foundations of our universe. And the scientific world recognized his genius very quickly. Just think about it. At 32, already almost completely paralyzed and barely able to speak, he became one of the youngest members of London's Royal Society. This incredible honor, bestowed upon such giants as Isaac Newton, was unparalleled. His mind shone brighter than any physical ailment. But fate, it seemed, was not about to stop. Having lost control of his body, he began to lose his voice, the most important tool for any scientist. But even here, his will to live and his desire to communicate with the world proved stronger than his illness. To save him, doctors had to perform a tracheotomy, a throat operation. It saved his life, but it took away his voice forever. For a scientist whose job is to think and speak, this was like going deaf in space. It seemed that this was it, the end. But he again refused to be created. First, he learned to operate a computer with his only working finger. When his finger stopped working, they created a special system with a sensor on his cheek that responded to the movement of the only muscle he still controlled. And that speech synthesizer became more than just a tool. It became his calling card. That famous robotic voice recognized by the whole world. And it was with this voice that he revealed the secrets of the universe to the world. In 1988, his book A Brief History of Time was published. And it became a worldwide bestseller. Hawking managed to explain the most complex concepts so simply and engagingly that it captivated millions of people who had previously had no interest in physics. And in the entire book, he used only one formula, E equals mc2. Okay, so the genius and the illness are all clear. But what kind of person was he? After all, he wasn't just a brain in a chair. He was a living person with a very rich life. A sharp mind, and his own views on our future. Despite his terrible diagnosis, he proved that it is possible to live an incredibly full life. He was married twice, had 3 children, and lived to see his grandchildren. And he didn't isolate himself. He humorously voiced himself on The Simpsons. And even fulfilled a long-held dream, flying in zero gravity on a special plane. And, of course, there was his humor. He was a master of self-irony. Once, when asked who he would like to play in a movie, he answered without hesitation that he would be perfect as a Bond villain. His wit was legendary. Commenting on the success of his books, he once joked, comparing himself to pop icon Madonna. And the comparison was obviously to his advantage. But behind the jokes lurked a deep thinker who was deeply concerned about the future. In his final years, he left humanity with several very serious warnings. He identified 4 main threats: nuclear war, deadly viruses created in laboratories, global warming, and, finally, artificial intelligence, which could spiral out of control. However, Hawking wouldn't be himself if he left us completely without hope. He said there was a 5th path. A path in which humanity would come to its senses, renounce self-destruction, and direct all its energy toward creation and the conquest of space. True, he himself considered this path the most unlikely. And this is his main challenge to us all. So what's the bottom line? What did Stephen Hawking leave behind? Yes, his contribution to science is enormous. But perhaps his greatest legacy is something more than just formulas and theories. He proved to the world by his example that the strength of the human spirit, curiosity, and thirst for knowledge, they are capable of overcoming absolutely any, even the most daunting physical barriers. His life is a true hymn to the possibilities of the human mind, which truly knows no bounds. And in conclusion, let us listen to his words once again. It is a simple yet incredibly powerful message for each of us. Never give up, be curious, and always seek what you can excel at. This is the main lesson from a man who unraveled the mysteries of the universe without even being able to move his hand. Friends, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now, and don't forget to like and click the bell icon so you don't miss future videos on our channel.